Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I have 3 Soldanos over here in this huge mountain of tone. And obviously, when you have 3 Soldanos in your studio, you owe it to humanity to make a shootout or a comparison. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. And this is a lot of fun. I absolutely love these amplifiers. The name Soldano is legendary in the amplifier world for a reason, and each and every single one of these amplifiers kicks absolute ass. I featured these in a bunch of videos and I did reviews and all that stuff, so if you're interested, definitely look those up. And of course, the most recent addition to the Soldano amplifier line is the SLO-100R rack mount amp. It's a 100 watt amplifier and it's almost identical to the big 100 watt head, with a couple of small differences here and there. The main one, of course, being that this is a rack mount amplifier and the normal one is in a wooden head shell. In terms of the feature set, it's very similar to the SLO-30 in that it has 2 channels, the normal channel and the overdrive channel. For the normal channel, you can choose between a clean or a crunch mode. And of course, that channel also has a bright switch. And then there's a shared 3-band EQ for both the channels, as well as a presence control. The SLO-30 has a depth potentiometer, whereas the SLO-100R has a 3-way depth switch. So it's a little bit less versatile in that regard. Another difference between these 2 amplifiers, aside from the wattage, is that this one has a global master volume control. And that's something that the other SLOs don't have. So it makes this one a little bit more flexible when it comes to balancing out the levels. So yeah, this one is 100 watts, obviously, with 4 6L6s in the power section. It's a powerhouse, it's heavy, it's mean, and it sounds absolutely huge. Now you can get these at Thomann, of course. I'll put links in the description below so you can check them out. But this one is around 5,000 euros, so it's not an affordable amplifier. But Soldano amps never really are super cheap amplifiers, you know, made in the USA, made by hand with the highest quality components and all that good stuff. The same goes for the 30 watt, also made in the USA. Obviously, it's a bit smaller and lighter than the 100 watt amp, but it still sounds absolutely huge. And I love this thing. I bought this for my birthday at the beginning of the year, and it's just such a cool amp. It's definitely in my top 5 amplifiers ever. And as of right now, this one costs about 3,200 euros, give or take, at Thomann. Again, I'll put a link below. And then we have the Astro 20, which is also an excellent amplifier. This is a 20 watt amplifier. It's the most feature-packed amp of the 3, and the most modern as well in terms of the features and what sort of stuff it has to offer in terms of the tonal shaping and the flexibility. And this one is also the most affordable one. You can get this for around 2,300 euros at Thomann currently. Again, I'll put a link below. 20 watts with 2 V6 tubes in the power section. So obviously less headroom than the other 2, but especially for a studio situation and stuff, it's an excellent amplifier. And you can get it to sound close to the SLOs. Not exactly the same, but definitely close. It has that Soldano DNA, but it also has a built-in load with power amp simulation, IRs, and all that good stuff. Of course, you've got the galaxies, 2 gain channels that you can customize in terms of the amount of gain, shared EQ, and a separate clean channel with a volume and tone control, as well as a 3-way bright switch. And then in the power section, we also have a 3-way depth switch. So it's a really cool amplifier, definitely the most affordable one. So if you're kind of on a budget, but still looking for a Soldano amplifier with that true Soldano experience, albeit with a little bit less headroom, the Astro 20 is awesome. But yeah, all 3 amps are awesome. I would recommend all 3 of them. They kick absolute ass. Okay. Enough talking, let's compare the 3, and we're going to start with a clean tone using my Schecter SLS Elite E1 with the Fishman Fluence modern pickups in it on the Alnico neck pickup on the passive voicing. For all the tones in this video, I'm running the amps through my RedSeven Amplification Amp Central reactive load and through a single ML SoundLab IR from the mega oversized pack, the Almighty IR. That's basically a 4x12 Mesa Boogie cabinet with V30s, okay? Now, one thing to note is that the pot tolerances on these amplifiers are a little bit different. So in order to get them to sound close, I had to tweak them a little bit differently, especially with the presence controls and stuff like that. And I must also add that I'm adding a little bit of subtle reverb and post just to make them sound a little bit more nice. And for this segment, I'm going to have the bright switch on. Okay, let's go ahead and take a listen. Check it out. All right, interesting. So they don't sound exactly the same, but the SLO-100R and the SLO-30 sound very close here, very close indeed. And then the Astro 20 has a very nice and chimey quality to it. I really love the clean channel on the Astro, and it's definitely a unique sound. And it also sounds good when you push it into breakup and stuff. So yeah, there's something special about the Astro 20's clean channel, but I must say that with this guitar, both the SLOs also sound really nice. Full and detailed with a nice top end. Now let's try some crunch tones using a Les Paul. And for the SLOs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on the normal channel, but switch over to the crunch mode. And then for this segment, again, I'm going to have the bright switch set to on for a little bit more extra grit. I'm going to try to get a really British tone, so with tons of clarity and bite here. So normal channel with the crunch mode with the bright switches on. And then for the Astro, I'm going to use the blue Galaxy on the gain 1 channel. And that should sound pretty similar. Okay, let's take a listen. Okay, great. All three amplifiers sounded great. And I guess you could say that the SLO-100R is the least compressed sounding here, the most forward and the most barky, or perhaps the most British sounding one. The SLO-30 was a little bit more compressed in the response here, I think, but they did sound quite similar with the settings that I used. And then the Astro is even more compressed here and perhaps a little bit more scooped. So this one could benefit from a bit of a mid boost, I think. Maybe tweaking the EQ here and there could make it sound even closer to the SLOs. But they definitely all sound excellent here. And now what we've all been waiting for, the high gain comparison. For this comparison, I'm going to use my Schecter E1 Apocalypse Red Rain and Drop C great metal guitar. And of course, for the SLOs, I'm going to move to the overdrive channel now, which is the high gain channel. The settings won't be exactly the same because, as I said, the pot tolerances just aren't the same, but they will be tweaked close enough and they will probably sound pretty close, but I'm expecting some subtle differences here. And then for the Astro 20, I'm going to use the Red Galaxy, which is the Galaxy mode with the highest amount of gain, basically. All right, let's have some fun and take a listen. All right, very interesting indeed. So this is, a personal description, but I feel like the SLO-100R has a bit more of a forward sound, and it's kind of almost a bit more British sounding than the SLO-30, which is a bit more saggy and kind of scooped in the feel. So this one sounds a bit more American, kind of a little bit more towards the rectifier direction, whereas this one was a little bit more to the Marshall direction, if you know what I mean. A little bit more of a tight bottom end. This one has a little bit more of a loose bottom end. And I recall seeing an interview with Mike Soldano where he explained that the SLO-30 has that going on by design, basically, so that it sounds better at lower volumes. So it sounds more cranked at lower volumes. So that's why it sounds a little bit more sort of squishy or saggy. But yeah, I loved them both. Now, the Astro 20 also sounded great. A little bit more sort of saggy and a bit more loose. Again, I guess if you added a bit more treble and mids here, you could come closer. It still sounds wonderful, but it doesn't have the oomph and headroom that the SLOs have. But again, all three sounded amazing here. but I was just especially impressed by the SLO-30 and the SLO-100R. And it's interesting to hear that they do have sonic differences. The SLO-100R stands a bit more tall and proud with more headroom, and the SLO-30 is a bit more saggy and seems to have a bit more saturation going on as well. So yeah, this was an interesting comparison. Again, I love these amplifiers so much. I would recommend them all. I mean, it depends on your budget, obviously. It depends on your needs. If you want that true Soldano experience on a budget for in your studio or maybe smaller gigs, the Astro 20 is just so awesome, and it's so flexible with the cableless recording, the IRs and all that stuff. If you have a little bit more budget and want the true SLO experience, the SLO-30 is so awesome. Maybe this is my favorite one because of that. It's compact size, but that it still has that Soldano magic. And then, of course, the big one, the purple one, the SLO-100R, is just a beast. And you can really hear that this has more headroom, you know, it just has more oomph and more presence and more authority. So yeah, I love them all. I'd really love to know your thoughts, so let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite and why. And if you had to get one Soldano, which one would you get? If you want to check out these amps at Thomann or Sweetwater, check out my affiliate links below. And if you buy something there, you get to support the channel at no additional cost. I would really appreciate that. Of course, you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And please also hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, as that really helps the channel out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers!